Why does this one painting draw millions while others sit forgotten? Not just well known, legendary. You might think it's because of the smile, or maybe because it was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. But the truth is, for hundreds of years, hardly anyone even cared about it. Back in the 1500s, when Da Vinci painted it, it wasn't hanging in a golden frame or protected behind bulletproof glass. It was just another portrait, one of many. How did this quiet little portrait of a woman sitting with folded hands turn into a global icon? The date was August 21st, 1911, a Monday. The Louvre Museum was closed to the public that day, as it always was on Mondays, for cleaning and maintenance. Everything seemed normal. Museum staff moved through the halls, preparing exhibits. Nothing unusual had been reported. Mona Lisa still hung in her place, quietly, unnoticed, not yet the star of the Louvre. But the next day, something strange happened. A painter named Louis Beroux arrived to make a copy of the Mona Lisa, something he and other artists often did with masterpieces at the Louvre. But when he reached the gallery, the painting was gone. He asked the guards, "Where is the portrait that usually hangs here?" They shrugged, assuming it had been taken for cleaning. But as the hours passed, Beroux's concern grew. He demanded answers. Only then did the staff realize Mona Lisa was missing. The museum didn't even notice the theft for over 24 hours, and from that moment, all hell broke loose. The Louvre went into lockdown. Police officers and detectives flooded the building. Doors were sealed. Visitors and employees were questioned. Fingerprints were collected. Every room, staircase, and hidden passage was searched. But Mona Lisa was nowhere to be found. This wasn't just a missing painting anymore. It was a national scandal. This was just 3 years before World War I, a time when tensions in Europe were already boiling. The French press exploded with fury. Illustrated newspapers ran covers asking, which lunatic did this? Which mad lover stole the Mona Lisa? Theories spread like wildfire. Some blamed the Germans, saying they wanted to embarrass France. Others accused American millionaire John Pierpont Morgan, claiming he had hired someone to steal it for his private collection. Even as the Louvre stayed closed for a full week, thousands gathered outside, waiting for answers. Then the investigation took a sharp turn. Detectives arrested one of the most famous poets of the time, Guillaume Apollinaire. Why? Because in the past, Apollinaire had publicly declared that the Louvre should be burned down. An outburst meant as artistic rebellion, but now seen as potential evidence. While digging into his background, police discovered a shocking detail. 2 small statues had also been stolen from the Louvre, and it seemed Apollinaire might be involved. Under pressure, Apollinaire admitted something that made things worse. He had once sold those stolen statues to a friend. That friend? Pablo Picasso. Yes, that Picasso. Not yet the global icon we know today, but already a rising name in the Paris art scene. The police immediately brought both men in for questioning. Paris was stunned. 2 of the most famous avant-garde artists in the country, now sitting in an interrogation room, accused of stealing the Mona Lisa. Apollinaire denied everything. He said he had no idea where the painting was. Picasso, terrified of being deported, denied even knowing Apollinaire at first, but eventually both confessed to their connection with the missing statues, though not with the Mona Lisa. After days of questioning, the police realized something. These 2 weren't art thieves, they were just rebellious artists who had once crossed the line with some stolen figurines. There was no link between them and the Mona Lisa. Meanwhile, the real thief, still out there, watching the chaos unfold, probably even reading the papers, and still no one had any idea who had actually taken the Mona Lisa or where it was. While the police chased poets and questioned painters, the real thief stayed completely under the radar. He wasn't a millionaire or an art world insider. He was a quiet, unremarkable man named Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian immigrant working odd jobs in Paris. Peruggia had actually worked at the Louvre before as a handyman. He knew the museum's layout, its routines, and most importantly, its weaknesses. His plan was simple, and it worked. On the morning of August 21, 1911, Peruggia entered the museum dressed in a white smock, the same type worn by Louvre staff. He blended in effortlessly. He walked through the halls like he belonged there, reached the room where the Mona Lisa hung, took the painting off the wall, and slipped into a nearby service staircase. He carefully removed the wooden panel from its protective frame, then wrapped the painting in a white cloth. With the Mona Lisa under his arm, he tried to leave through a side door, but it was locked. That could have ended it right there, but instead, Peruggia placed the wrapped painting on the floor and started unscrewing the door handle. That's when a real museum worker entered the corridor. For a brief moment, the entire heist was in danger. But the worker didn't question him. He saw a man in a white smock, assumed it was a technician fixing a jammed door, and helped him. Together they opened the door. Peruggia calmly picked up the bundle, nodded politely and walked out, just like that. He simply took the painting back to his tiny apartment in Paris and hid it inside the false bottom of a wooden trunk, and there it stayed for over 2 years. But why did he steal it? Peruggia claimed he wasn't doing it for money. He said it was a patriotic act, that he wanted to return the painting to Italy, where it belonged. But as the months passed, reality set in. The Mona Lisa had become too famous to sell. Everyone in the world knew what it looked like. He couldn't even show it to anyone without risking arrest. Eventually, in late 1913, he decided to act. He reached out to an Italian art dealer named Alfredo Geri, using the alias Leonardo da Vinci. He said he had the Mona Lisa and wanted to return it to Italy. Geri, unsure whether this was a hoax or not, contacted Giovanni Poggi, the director of the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. Together, they arranged a meeting in a hotel room. When Peruggia arrived, he carefully unwrapped the painting, revealing it to be the real Mona Lisa. The dealer and the gallery director were stunned. The painting was in perfect condition, not a scratch. Peruggia asked for 500,000 Italian lire, roughly the equivalent of $2.5 million today. He wanted compensation for his act of national service. They told him they'd examine the painting further, then pay him. As soon as Peruggia left the hotel, they contacted the police. On the evening of December 11, 1913, after more than 2 years, the Mona Lisa was recovered and Vincenzo Peruggia was arrested. At last, the mystery had been solved. When police finally arrested Vincenzo Peruggia in December 1913 and recovered the Mona Lisa, the news exploded across Europe. But now, the story was completely different. It wasn't just about the theft, it was about a legendary return. Before sending the painting back to France, Italian officials decided to put it on display in Italy, and it drew massive crowds. In Florence, where the painting was shown for just a few days, more than 120,000 people came to see it, and that was only the beginning. From there, Mona Lisa went on a brief tour, shown in Rome, Milan, and other cities. It was treated like royalty, as if it were a national treasure that had just been rescued from the enemy. But here is the irony. The painting had never been stolen from Italy in the first place. Leonardo da Vinci had brought it to France himself in the 16th century, after accepting the personal invitation of King Francis I. He spent the last years of his life in France and sold the painting directly to the king. So France had owned it legally for nearly 400 years. Still, Peruggia's patriotic version of the story found sympathizers. Some newspapers called him a hero. Some Italians believed his intentions were pure, even if misguided. The court too showed unexpected mercy. Despite confessing to the theft, and despite the fact that he had tried to sell the painting for money, Peruggia was sentenced to just 1 year and 15 days in prison. In the end, he served only 7 months. After that, he mostly disappeared from public life. He fought in World War I for the Italian army, was captured by Austro-Hungarian forces, and survived. He later returned to France, married a woman named Annunziata, and lived quietly until his death in 1925, at the age of 44. Nobody even noticed he had passed away. His death wasn't covered in the media. But Mona Lisa, her fate was the complete opposite. When the painting finally returned to the Louvre in 1914, it didn't quietly take its place back on the wall. No, it had become a global icon, The museum gave it a special display. Crowds lined up. People came from all over the world to see it, not necessarily because they appreciate the art, but because they knew the story. Suddenly, painting's smile wasn't just a smile, it was a mystery in itself. It's calm, it's mysterious. Some say it's kind, others say it's sad or even mocking. What makes it even more strange is that the smile seems to change depending on how you look at it. This is thanks to a painting technique called sfumato, which Leonardo da Vinci mastered. It's all about soft and gradual blending, no sharp edges, no harsh lines. The light and shadow melt into each other like mist. It's what gives the Mona Lisa her lifelike, almost breathing expression. Over the years, people have claimed there are hidden messages inside the painting. Letters in her eyes, mysterious numbers, even a secret code based on the golden ratio. But modern analysis tells a different story. When scientists scanned the painting, they found no cryptic symbols, just layers of earlier versions beneath the surface. Leonardo had adjusted the hands, the veil, and even the background landscape. These changes, called pentimenti, show that he refined the portrait over time, not to hide messages, but to perfect balance and form. As for the golden spiral, it doesn't actually align with the painting. Despite Leonardo's love for math and anatomy, there is no real evidence he embedded sacred geometry here. Even the name is often misunderstood. While many say Mona Lisa, the proper Italian form is Monna Lisa, short for My Lady. Most scholars agree she was Lisa Gherardini, the wife of a wealthy Florentine merchant. The truth may be simpler than all the theories. It was likely a private portrait, no symbols, no grand secrets. And somehow, across 5 centuries of wars, revolutions, and rewrites of history, that smile remains. Or maybe that's exactly the point.